What's up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Travels with Herd. My name is Herd. I will be your pilot for today. We are traveling with my girl Skylar here. We're going to do a little bit of off-roading today because it's actually a route that I've taken before. If you checked out the off-roading in southern New York video, we're going through that same trail, but today I wanted to do it specifically because I finally got my luggage. All this stuff finally put on the bike after about a year of waiting for it to get here from Triumph. So we're finally here. But today, instead of just riding through the trail, I figured I would get back to my roots. And of course, I forgot to put the sunshade down. We are going to we're going to talk about some music. I'm going to give you an album review, talk about one of my favorite bands currently. And you get to check that out while we do some off-road riding. So let's see here. We're, like I said, it's the same route. So I'm currently at the Mogop Lake. I think that's what it's called, something like that. There is an eagle observatory right here. Some people in the truck here trying to get a view of the eagle. I probably disturbed all of that. There we go. Beautiful views of the lake here, and here we go, off-roading. Kind of intentionally trying to take shady lines. This is not necessarily a very technical off-road, but I'm just trying to practice, get more used to the off-road stuff, and especially with the luggage, I just kind of want to see what it all feels like. And see how the bike overall is going to do. I have like road tires on. I do have it in off-road mode, but not exactly an off-road kind of guy. It's only I haven't done it all that much. So anyway, to the whole point of this episode, with that little bit of background, I wanted to talk about one of my favorite bands. They've been a favorite of mine for a long time. They've been featured in my top 5 a couple of times for album of the years even. And that, of course, is a band called the Lower Tolpa. They're a band based out of upstate New York. That's where they do most of their live performing. They just kind of finished up their tour season. I think last I heard they're going to be done for the year touring wise as that particular band. They did just release an album, which kind of an odd time to also be done with the tour, but I've heard some internal stuff from the band, so I kind of know a little bit about it. And they're basically just taking the winter off to just sort of regroup after a heavy touring season this summer, and they capped it off with the release of the album, so they'll be performing that stuff on the whole next cycle. They did do this really cool thing. I got to see their last performance for the year about a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago at this point. And they actually performed the entire new album from start to finish, like just track 1 to 2 to 3. And that was the first time I'd heard it. They had released it. It had been out. I specifically did not check it out because I wanted to hear it live for the first time. And oh, no trespassing on the in the grass. I'm pretty sure I can take this road. I've taken this before, so hopefully I'm not actually trespassing, but we're gonna find out. But yeah, so I did get to see that last show where they performed everything cover to cover, and it was phenomenal. They performed, when they play, they're an all original band. They do all their own stuff, and just phenomenal. All of their music just absolutely incredible. Yeah, seeing that last show was great. I'm sorry, I'm just getting distracted as always by the absolutely beautiful views. I love this kind of running. I wish I knew more roads like this in the area, but I really don't. I gotta find some more people. I know the New York section of the BDR is near me, but I'm very nervous to try the BDR. And I do know the reason we're going to turn here. I do know, yeah, so you can even see it from here. There is the that is all like privately owned and stuff, and you can't go back there. I think at certain times of the year when maybe the boats are going in a lot more, you can access that. There is a big lake that way as well, but for now we're gonna be catching this. Let's get this on here. Okay, so back to the band. Lower Tolpa. I'm just gonna slowly kind of, well, not slowly, I'm just gonna kind of go through, I guess, their albums, one to the next, and I gotta open that a little bit, get some vent going in here. So first album, which I think was, maybe they're even considering maybe an EP, not too sure how they consider their first couple albums, because they're not specifically labeled as EPs or LPs. They just kind of started putting stuff out. Oh, what's up, bird? But the first album, I Ain't Even Supposed to Be Here. Great album. We're gonna have to stand up for, well, we don't have to stand up, but I want to. I like standing. That's how I feel super adventurous. I grew up doing this kind of stuff on mountain bikes, so it's super fun to be doing it on a moto finally. So yeah, I Ain't Even Supposed to Be Here. It's probably what I should not be doing in here in these woods, but great, fantastic album. Some super melodic writing as well. Tunes like Shiny Stone, Brainwash, and Rescue kind of come to mind. Rescue especially starts off very ballady, but has like lots of other cool stuff going on. And then they followed that up very quickly with a specifically labeled EP called Half Moon. And you can almost think of those two albums, honestly, as just one album, you know, from start to finish, because the writing on those two was specifically done entirely by Carson Murphy, who's the guitarist and singer and the main writer for the band. He wrote all of that stuff kind of on his own, and then when he formed the band, they just, you know, sort of recorded all that stuff that he had written. Obviously, everyone had their own creative input in terms of like what specifically the bass was going to do, and the drums and that kind of thing, and there was still some creative collaboration. It wasn't an iron-fisted, you play this. But he wrote the core of everything, and like that whole thing is just absolutely brilliant. Those two albums, and combined, they might take you an hour. So I think if they had just done all of them in one shot, it could have been an official EP. And what's up, deer? Hopefully that came out on camera. There's definitely a deer up here. We're gonna sit down in case we have to stop sharp when he jumps out in front of me again. That was actually my one fear. When that bird came out in front of me, I was like, I'm glad that was a bird and not a deer. But there are plenty of deer in through here. Yeah, okay, cool. We can get going again. And I think this is actually the patch. Yeah, we're gonna pause real quick here. All right, and we're back. I wanted to pause very briefly in this nice little field here to get a quick photo shoot in. So yeah, all right, back to the band. So yeah, Half Moon, Ain't Even Supposed to Be Here. View them all as one album. Check them out. The way I describe this band in general, I think I forgot to mention, if you're a fan of rock music, you're going to really dig it. It's basically like having brand new music from 1995. That's, I think, the easiest and best way to explain it. I think we can do this. Wow, that's going to be too loud for the mic. Okay. Yeah, they very much write in that like Marcy's Playground. It's kind of like Marcy's Playground meets Modest Mouse. That's how I think maybe is the best descriptor for this band. There's actually a song on the newest album that I'm pretty sure they just ripped off from Modest Mouse, because it sounds just like Bury Me With It. Some cars out here, cool. So there's other people out here, so that must be a good sign, unless they're the people who own this stuff. After Half Moon, the band released another album called Worst of the Lucky, and I think that was the first official album they did. Maybe the first, like, how do I explain this? It's the first official album, not just like stuff they recorded and released. And it's also the first album where they all were in the writing process together. So it wasn't just Carson, they were all coming up with stuff. And you can kind of hear that in the way they structure the songs. They're still very melodic, and there's still... Is this... Okay, I just for a second thought my mic wasn't plugged in, but it still is. Okay. It's still the same melodic stuff, still the same, you know, structures, great lyrics, all that. But what's cool is they add in a lot more riffs and things that sort of break up the overall song structure, so it doesn't feel as just verse chorusy. There's a lot of cool other little sections. They also add in some instrumentals on this album. At times, for me personally, some of the instrumental stuff gets a little bit too random noise-ish for me, but that's just me personally. You may dig it, you may not. Not all of it is that way, but they're, unfortunately for me, just a personal thing. And a little bit of it I think seems at times maybe a little out of place, because it's like cool rock tune and then random noise. But again, that's just me. You know, I very much like to hear notes. That's not even entirely true, because that, you know, Nick Zulik is not always notes. It's a lot of sound and emotion. But so I don't know. It's just, I guess, how I'm viewing it. But anyway, that's just, like I said, me. Most people really dig it, and they do the same stuff live, and it gets amazing reactions. So it's very much just a me thing, not a you won't dig it thing. And then after Worst of the Lucky, that was out for maybe a year or so, maybe a little more. They just released their newest album, Flesh and Blood. The standout track off of that one is for me at least, is a song called The Comedian. And it really is just like a 2-chord vamp, 3-chord maybe. Yeah, just a few chords, and it's that the whole time. But when you're listening to it, it doesn't feel like it. I actually didn't even notice that until I went to just like jam along with it, and I was like, oh, this really is just the same thing over and over. At least in the chords. The melodies, the harmonies, the lyrics, all that stuff are fantastically woven through it. But which is the sign of a great tune, that you don't notice the simplicity of the song and the form and the structure. What's up, bird? That's a big one. And you just get, you know, a really cool tune that you can just listen to without even noticing that it's, you know, really simple. Probably should have given that stick a little more room. I keep forgetting about the bags, and not that they take up a huge amount of space, but I need to be more careful, and that's part of why I wanted to do this ride today. Again, as you can see, not super technical, but with the bags and a little bit of weight balancing and that, I'm just trying to get used to it, and get more confident in the off-road stuff. And I am not the only one, apparently. Dang, he is all set for the off-road stuff too. That was an actual like dirt bike, it seemed. Not my road biased Triumph. That was kind of cool. But yeah, so definitely check out Lower Tolpa stuff. I'm being a little bit inarticulate, but it's kind of hard to put their stuff into a box, and it really is. Like I said, it's like new music from '95, and a lot of their stuff, it's really cool that like you could put any one of their songs on any one of their albums and they would fit and flow really nicely. And it's cool that they maintained that, even given that they are all now writing the tunes and it's not just Carson. I think he still is the one coming up with most of the initial guitar parts and lyrics and stuff, and then everyone else fits around it. But they still, I think, have more creative say in the final result than in the first couple albums. But they've done a really good job of just saying, like, this is what we do and we're going to do it really well. And I think they do that. They continually make new music from 1995. It's like it doesn't feel like it's stuck in time. It doesn't sound archaic, but it just sounds like, you know, it almost sounds like a band that you missed when you were growing up. Like, oh, I just didn't even know these guys existed, and just somehow find them, and they're from 1995. It's that kind of feel. That's how this band sort of sounds, but without sounding, it doesn't sound old and archaic. You know, there's no no hint of that stuff. So definitely worth checking out the lower Tolpa. I will try to remember to throw some links in underneath, and I might even try and use some of their music in the background of this ride at some points, because at this point I might just, oh yeah, we're at the end of the ride. So yeah, so I might just try and throw some of their tunes in here while I take the road back to the main highway from here. So yeah, check out the lower Tolpa. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll catch you next time.